Hello YouTube, welcome to week 3 of my series trying to beat Honkai Star Rail endgame in 1 month. Quick recap of week 2. We pulled Fei Xiao, we pulled Robin, then we pulled another Robin, and then we started the endgame, clearing about half of it. Now it's week 3 and we just hit Trailblaze 60. Trailblaze level 60 is a big deal because we can finally level our characters to 80. We finally get a decent rate on trace materials, and we finally get 2 gold relics per cavern run. We're not going to reach TL 65 during this project, so this is the optimal time to use the fuel that we have been saving up and start farming relics for the endgame. We are running a follow-up team and a super break team, so the Valorous and Iron Cavalry Cavern is an obvious place to park ourselves. For planar pieces, the follow-up team wants Duran, and Himeko could use Forge, but we also need to break other elements, so we will farm Talia instead. Because specific planar pieces have a low drop rate, it would be a waste of energy trying to actually farm them. We are going to instead use the double planar event going on right now to farm a baseline of Talia pieces, and then use resin to craft the missing pieces. Dumping the remaining fuel into farming armor pieces results in nearly a month's worth of relics. Viewers like seeing creators take a potential piece to 15 and just send it, but we really can't afford to waste relic XP here. So we're going to upgrade these 3 levels at a time, and I'll show you the highlights instead. If you want to see the final builds, I'll go through them at the end of the video. For planar pieces, we get a decent wind piece for Fei Xiao, 1 insane super break sphere, and a couple of interesting hybrid crit break pieces. Super break obviously wants break effect, but March does provide a pile of damage, and every bit helps. The game gives you some gold relics and Penacony for doing chests and elites, and we were able to get 2 good Grand Duke pieces from Mose. This means we can focus our Valorous farming on equipping Fei Xiao. We get a decent chest piece, but the other pieces end up pretty average. The problem is that for a lot of our best pieces, the rolls went into attack instead. This is fine, our crit is going to look low on the stat sheet, but the attack percent will compensate for that in actual damage. Funnily enough, the 2 perfect crit pieces that I got were on the cavalry set, including 1 on an outgoing healing piece. Although the gloves are not good enough to justify dropping the Valorous 4-piece bonus on Fei Xiao for these. The good news, however, is the follow-up team got pretty good pieces for Robin, so that will also help compensate for the average luck we had with Fei Xiao. Although we are farming cavalry set for the super break team, we do want 1 person to wear the watchmaker set to buff the entire team. And we were lucky that the random pieces we got from finishing Penacony were actually pretty decent. The Iron Cavalry farm itself went, I would say, pretty well. Himeko and Serval both come with a lot of crit from their traces and get more from March, so the crit on these pieces will supplement their break damage pretty well. We also get enough break to have them reach the 4-piece bonus threshold, and we get enough speed to activate the bonus break effect on the Talia 2-piece. Now that the relics are done, let's take them into the endgame and see how they do. We start with Memory of Chaos. Last week we got stuck on the 4th floor because Lynx had trouble keeping up with the incoming damage. But now that our characters are level 80 and we finally have decent relics, we're able to go straight to MOC 10. On the Fei Xiao side, I'm actually a bit surprised that she is able to zero cycle because her team is still missing a lot of traces. I'm not sure she'll still be able to zero cycle MOC 12 once we get there, but it's a good sign and we still have plenty of room to grow. The super break side is interesting because I actually had more trouble with this team killing sides with 2 performers in previous stages than this one with the full trio. It turns out that because Fei Xiao is zero cycling on her side, the super break side has plenty of time to kill its side and just needs to make sure it doesn't die. The trio ends up doing less damage than just 2 of them, because breaking the trio delays them more than normal, and so Lynx is able to catch up on healing. We are able to finish with 4 cycles left, which makes me pretty optimistic that we will actually be able to finish full stars in MOC 12. However, for now, going into MOC 11, the Super Break team ends up falling behind it, and somebody eventually dies. This is a problem that will be fixed once we pull Link Shaw, but I have a team adjustment that may let us push a few more stars before then. Subscribe and like so you don't miss seeing how it works out in the next episode. Next is Apocalyptic Shadow. Now that we actually have relics, surviving Apocalyptic Shadow 3 isn't the problem, although it can still be a little shaky at times. Unfortunately, I'm really unhappy with how Mose is performing on this stage. He did better in the previous Apocalyptic Shadow before the rotation. He is a good character, but his skill not moving the way Numpy dies for Topaz after an enemy dies means he loses a lot of damage on this version of Aventurine, and he's not able to help much with the dice. Mose can also get stuck on Aventurine if Fei Xiao phases the boss before Mose's skill is used up. I want to see how well this team does once Fei Xiao has upgraded traces, but there's a good chance that I will have to replace Mose with March. The Super Break side takes much longer than it should because the flowers have as much toughness as elites, but only count as normal enemies for Himiko's follow-up. If the flowers are not killed fast, Ventilia will reset them, so applying AoE toughness pressure becomes very important. And this team ends up being worse with Lynx than it would be with Gallagher by a significant margin. Fortunately, Linksha will fix this problem. I am concerned about moving March from this team to the other side, but we picked up a basically E20 Asta on the Fei Xiao banner, and she should be able to fill in that slot. Even Mose could probably do well on this side, considering the toughness on these flowers. I should also note that I've been using the Gallagher light cone on Lynx, and it's kind of impressed me, not because of the break effect on it, but because of the self-heal. Gallagher doesn't really use that self-heal because he heals himself a lot with his base kit, but for Lynx I found many times where she only needed to heal herself, and the self-heal on the light cone allowed her to generate a skill point instead of using one. So we're able to get 3 stars on stage 3. On stage 4 we're able to push Aventurine into his broken phase, but embarrassingly enough not able to finish him before he reactivates, which is telling me that we need to probably work on our traces. We'll come back to stage 4 next week. Finally, Pure Fiction. Am I the only one who thinks that Pure Fiction is the hardest mode in the game? Let me know in the comments. Last week we got 1 star in Pure Fiction 3, and that convinced me I needed to switch March and Mose between their teams. This works a lot better, and we're really lucky that March is such a flexible and powerful character. I'll have to do a video just about her once I finish this series, since she enables so many other characters. The Fei Xiao and March team is able to carry its weight. The Servo and Mose team on the other side, however, does not. Even though MOC demos will show that Mose can be comparable to Topaz, the reason he deserves to be a 4-star is because of how bad he is compared to her at dealing with many weak enemies and target switching. At this point, I'm convinced I have to remove him from my Pure Fiction lineup completely. I could replace him with Herda or Ting Yun, but they were not in my original investment plan for characters, so I want to avoid doing that if possible. Next week, we are getting a new Pure Fiction that has fire vulnerability for Himiko and Linksha, so I want to see how those two do before I start investing in new characters. In the meantime, the current Pure Fiction 4 does have some fire vulnerability, so we jump in there to take advantage of it and grab another star to bring us to 9 stars. To review, after 3 weeks we have 30 stars in MOC, 9 stars in Pure Fiction, and 9 stars in Apocalyptic Shadow. I'll leave the character builds play in the background while I talk about some logistics. We made a lot of progress this week, and the damage numbers we're putting out in MOC makes me optimistic about the success of this project. The next episode is going to be a lot quieter than this week. We will mostly be focusing on upgrading our traces, but we will also have a new character join the roster, and there is a new Pure Fiction coming out, which we will be able to test our team against. This current episode obviously took longer than a week to come out. Sorry, I had some stuff come up in the real world. I probably should have left a community post letting you know. But to get back on schedule, the next episode will be coming out faster than a week, probably around the time that Linkshaw is actually releasing. But for now, I think that wraps it up. I'll let the rest of the builds play out, and I'll see you in the next one.